BBC Two shortly begins a powerful new three-part drama telling the moving story of a woman diagnosed as having a fatal muscle-wasting disease. Sue Johnston and Alan Armstrong star in Goodbye Cruel World. Here on One in Half an Hour, we've a tense thriller based on the real-life police investigation into a series of bizarre murders in Los Angeles. First, the 9 o'clock news with Michael Buerk.
Rebels have taken over the former Soviet Republic of Georgia. The president has fled, his parliament is on fire, the opposition in control. And massive IRA bombs caused millions of pounds damage to Belfast city centre. Good evening. President Zviad Gamsakholia has fled from Georgia after a bloody 2-week struggle for power. He slipped out of his burning parliament building under cover of darkness and is reported to have escaped to Armenia. Rebel gunmen are now in control of the capital, Tbilisi, much of which is now in ruins.
The final assault began last night, and for a while troops loyal to President Gamsakholia put up some resistance. But by the time the artillery bombardment set the Georgian parliament ablaze this morning, the president and about 200 of his fighters had already escaped. The flames spread rapidly, enveloping an entire wing of the building, igniting the remnants of the president's ammunition. This is where Zviad Gamsakholia, his family and staff have lived for the past 2 weeks. Now fire is enveloping the palatial corridors. Triumphant gunmen roam the inner balconies. The president had insisted he would not resign, would not hand power to the opposition he dismissed as criminals and bandits. But the leaders of the forces closing in around him warned that this was coming, and many of his men had already deserted.
In the end, the fall of the president took just one night of heavy artillery bombardment. Now his refuge, the parliament, is in flames, and Mr. Gamsakholia himself has fled.
As the rebel gunmen overran his former stronghold, the official word from the men who've seized power is that the president left in a military convoy, which dispersed on the outskirts of Tbilisi. Mr. Gamsakholia was allegedly seen heading towards Azerbaijan, but rumours persist that he is already under arrest. These are some of the men who were captured as the parliament fell, now being held in the basement of the opposition headquarters. A handful of troops who were left behind to cover the president's departure, but by then they had little fight left in them. The terrible bloodshed many had feared was averted. The man who led the military operation relaxed in his office today and told how the virtual siege had succeeded.
Well, you can imagine, we had this man sitting in a bunker for 2 weeks. Many of the people with him suffered psychological problems. Gamsakholia had psychological problems before all this. He was stuck inside and everything was exploding around him, and nobody knew what might happen. He just could not take any more.
The military council that has taken power has vowed to bring him to justice. Jabba Yosuliani, its joint leader, said, "Wherever he is, we will find him and put him on trial." The conflict has devastated the heart of Tbilisi. Burnt and wrecked vehicles and weapons litter the streets. The impressive marble facade of the parliament is shattered. Many buildings are reduced to rubble. The mood is one of relief rather than celebration. The bloodshed and turmoil of the past fortnight has left some people here utterly distraught. Fighters and civilians alike blame President Gamsakholia.
Look at this. For 2 weeks we lived in the midst of it all. We were trying to put out fires. We were ducking the bullets just to stay alive. He made life like this. What does he care for Georgia?
The triumph here is that of one group of Georgians over another. The fighters that joined the opposition say they've liberated their country from a dictator. But doubts remain as to whether President Gamsakholia's supporters in the rest of Georgia will acknowledge their victory. Carol Walker, BBC News, Tbilisi.
Carol Walker joins us now live by satellite from the Georgian capital. Carol, is this the end of the fighting or the beginning of some wider civil war?
Well, certainly Tbilisi is quiet tonight, the first night really that it's been like this for the past fortnight, although the fire in the Parliament building is still burning. And it does seem as though the opposition fighters who seized the Parliament are well in control of the capital. But the question really, as I mentioned earlier, is the outlying areas, the towns and villages. President Gamsakhodia always drew a great deal of his support from the rural areas. And what is not clear is whether the people in these places, many of whom are now also armed, are going to be prepared to accept the authority of the people who've taken power here.
The rebels are saying that this is a victory for democracy. Yet this is a president who won a landslide victory in a democratic election only a few months ago. Why did they get rid of him?
Well, of course, what the opposition leaders say is that President Gamsakhodia failed to keep to any of the promises that he made to the people at the time that he was elected, and that he became a dictator, that he wouldn't listen to any of the people around him, and that's why this split occurred in the first place. Of course, the people who've been leading this the opposition fighters were once part of President Gamsakhodia's government. They say that they tried to persuade him to leave office peacefully, that they tried to offer him negotiations, a safe way out of the country, but that in the end, force was the only solution left open to them.
So who, if anybody, is effectively running Georgia tonight?
Well, I think it's early days. As I say, the opposition are controlling the capital. There is a big question over what's going to happen in rural areas, but certainly Georgia is crying out for somebody to fill the power vacuum. The economy is in ruins. There's no fuel, there's little in the shops. The whole of the capital is in a virtual state of ruin, certainly in the city centre. And I'm sure that most of the people here are just longing for somebody to seize the reins of power peacefully and sort things out. The opposition have promised that they want to unite the country. They've appointed a provisional government, and they're promising fresh elections by April.
Carol Walker in Tbilisi, thanks very much. Another huge IRA bomb has exploded in the centre of Belfast, causing considerable damage to shops and offices. It's the second bomb to go off in the city in less than 24 hours. The police were evacuating the area when the bomb exploded, and a policewoman was slightly injured.
The £300 bomb was left in a hijacked post office van at lunchtime. The security forces had half an hour to move hundreds of shoppers to safety. Using 2 remote control robots, Army bomb experts were still trying to make the device safe when there was a massive explosion. No one was seriously hurt, but a policewoman suffered eye injuries. The terrorist target this time was River House, which contains the head office of the police authority and Inland Revenue and Tourist Board offices. It was badly damaged. Many other buildings and Belfast's Albert Clock were also caught in the blast.
Crazy. Crazy. Just puts everybody out of work, causes more heartache than damage. They just hurt themselves.
This was the 8th large bomb the IRA has placed in the city centre in less than 2 months. The 7th exploded barely half a mile away last night, damaging scores of shops and offices. This was all that remained of the van used to carry the £600 bomb. The targets of this IRA bombing campaign in Belfast are businesses. Rather than killing, the terrorists aim to cause economic disruption at a huge cost to the government and to destroy any image of normality in the city.
So many businesses in the city are attempting to expand and